Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more Diary of Anne Frank. Yeah. The reason I wanted to get into Diary of Anne Frank because apparently some school districts have banned it, which is so fucking stupid. I hate the idea of banned books. There's always something we can always learn. But let's jump into this. Wednesday, June the 24th, 1942. Dearest Kitty, it's sweltering. Everyone is huffing and puffing, and in the heat I have to walk everywhere. Only now do I realize how pleasant a streetcar is, but we Jews are no longer allowed to make use of this luxury. Our town, our own 2 feet are good enough for us. Yesterday at lunchtime, I had an appointment with the dentist on Jan Leukenstraat. It's a long way from our school on Stadstimmertun or Stadstimmertun. That afternoon, I nearly fell asleep at my desk. Fortunately, people automatically offer you something to drink. The dental assistant is really kind. The only mode of transportation left to us is the ferry. The ferryman at Yosef Israel Kade took us across when we asked him to. It's not the fault of the Dutch that we Jews are having such a bad time. I wish I didn't have to go to school. My bike was stolen during Easter vacation, and Father gave Mother's bike to some Christian friends for safekeeping. Thank goodness summer vacation is almost here. One more week and our torment will be over. Something unexpected happened yesterday morning as I was passing the bicycle racks. I heard my name being called. I turned around and there was a nice boy I'd met the evening before at my friend Wilma's. He's Wilma's second cousin. I used to think Wilma was nice, which she is, but all she ever talks about is boys, and that gets to be a bore. He came toward me somewhat shyly and introduced himself as Hello Silberberg. I was a little surprised and wasn't sure what he wanted, but it didn't take me long to find out. He asked if I would allow him to accompany me to school. As long as you're headed that way, I'll go with you, I said. And so we walked together. Hello is 16 and good at telling other kinds of funny stories. He was waiting for me again this morning, and I expect he will be from now on. Anne. Wednesday, July the 1st, 1942. Dearest Kitty, until today I honestly couldn't find the time to write you. I was with friends all day Thursday, and he had company on Friday. And that's how it went until today. Hello and I gotten to know each other very well this past week, and he's told me a lot about his life. He comes from Gelsenkirchen and is living with his grandparents. His parents are in Belgium, but there's no way he can get there. Hello used to have a girlfriend named Ursula. I know her too. She's perfectly sweet and perfectly boring. Ever since he met her, Hello has realized that he's been falling asleep at Ursula's side. So I'm kind of a pep tonic. You never know what you're good for. Jacques spent Saturday night here. Sunday afternoon she was at Hanelli's and I was bored stiff. Hello was supposed to come over that evening, but he called around 6. I answered the phone and he said, "This is Helmuth Silberberg. May I please speak to Anne?" "Oh, hello, this is Anne." "Oh, hi Anne, how are you?" "Fine, thanks. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, but I can't come tonight, though I would like to have a word with you. Is it all right if I come by and pick you up in about 10 minutes? "Yes, that's fine. Bye-bye." "Okay, I'll be right over. Bye-bye." I hung up, quickly changed my clothes, and fixed my hair. I was so nervous I leaned out the window to watch for him. He finally showed up. Miracle of miracles, I didn't rush down the stairs, but waited quietly until he rang the bell. I went down to open the door, and he got right to the point. "Anne, my grandmother thinks you're too young for me to be seeing you on a regular basis. She says I should be going to the Lowenbachs, but you probably know that I'm not going out with Ursel anymore." "No, I didn't know. What happened? Did you two have a fight?" "No, nothing like that. I told Ursel that we weren't suited to get to each other, and so it was better for us not to go out together anymore, but that she was welcome at my house, and I hoped I would be welcome to hers. Actually, I thought Ursel was hanging around with another boy, and I treated her as if she were, but that wasn't true. And when my uncle said I should apologize to her, but of course I didn't feel like it, and that's why I broke up with her. But that was just one of the reasons. Now my grandmother wants me to see Ursel and not you, but I don't agree, and I'm not going to. Sometimes old people have really old-fashioned ideas, but that doesn't mean I have to go along with them. I needed my grandparents, but in a certain sense, they need me too. From now on, I'll be free on Wednesday evenings. You see, my grandparents made me sign up for a wood carving class, but actually I go to a club organized by the Zionists. My grandparents don't want me to go because they're anti-Zionists. I'm not a fanatic Zionist, but it interests me. Anyway, it's been such a mess lately that I'm planning to quit. So next Wednesday will be my last meeting. That means I can see you Wednesday evening, Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, Sunday afternoon, and maybe even more. But if your grandparents don't want you to, you shouldn't go behind their backs. All's fair in love and war. Just then we passed Blankerwood's bookstore, and there was Peter Schiff with 2 other boys. It was the first time he'd said hello to me in ages, and really made me feel good. Monday evening, Hello came over to meet Father and Mother. I had bought a cake and some candy, and we had tea and cookies. The works, but neither Hello nor I felt like sitting stiffly on our chairs. So we went out for a walk, and he didn't deliver me to my door until 8:10. Father was furious. He said it was very wrong of me not to get home on time. I had to promise to be home by 10 to 8 in the future. I've been asked by to Hello's on Saturday. Wilma told me that one night when Hello was at her house, she asked him, "Who do you like best, Ursel or Anne?" He said, "It's none of your business." But As he was leaving, they hadn't talked to each other the rest of the evening, he said, "Well, I like Anne better, but don't tell anyone. Bye." And whoosh, he was out the door. In everything he says and does, I can see that Hello is in love with me, and it's kind of nice for a change. Margot would say that Hello is a decent sort. I think so too, but he's more than that. Mother is also full of praise. A good-looking boy, nice and polite. I'm glad he's so popular with everyone, except with my girlfriends. He thinks they're very childish, and he's right about that. Jacques still teases me about him, but I'm not in love with him, not really. It's all right for me to have boys as friends. Nobody minds. Mother is always asking me who I'm going to marry when I grow up, but I bet she'll never guess it's Peter because I talked her out of that idea myself without batting an eyelash. I love Peter as I've never loved anyone, and I tell myself he's only going around with all those other girls to hide his feelings for me. Maybe he thinks Hello and I are in love with each other, which we're not. He's just a friend. Or, as Mother puts it, a beau. Yours, Anne. Dearest Kitty, Sunday, July 5th, 1942. The graduation ceremony on the Jewish theater is on Friday when as expected. My report card wasn't too bad. I got 1 D, a C- in algebra, and all the rest B's. Except for 2 B pluses and 2 B minuses. My parents are pleased, but they're not like other parents when it comes to grades. They never worry about report cards, good or bad. As long as I'm healthy and happy, they don't talk back too much. They're satisfied. As long as I'm healthy and happy and don't talk back too much, they're satisfied. If all 3 things are all right, everything else will take care of itself. I'm just the opposite. I don't want to be a poor student. I was accepted to the Jewish Lyceum on a conditional basis. I was supposed to stay in the 7th grade at Montessori school, but when Jewish children were required to go to Jewish schools, Mr. Elte finally agreed, after a great deal of persuasion, to accept Lise Gosler and me. Lise also passed this year, though she had to repeat her geometry exam. Poor Lise. It isn't easy for her to study at home. Her babysitter, a spoiled little 2-year-old, plays in her room all day. If Gabby doesn't get her way, she starts screaming, and if Lise doesn't look after her, Mrs. Gosler starts screaming. So Lise has a hard time doing her homework, and as long as that's the case, the tutoring she's been getting won't help much. The Gosler household is really a sight. Mrs. Gosler's parents live next door, but eat with the family. Then there's a hired girl, the baby, the always absent-minded and absent Mr. Gosler, and the always nervous and irritable Mrs. Gosler, who's expecting another baby. Lise, who's all thumbs, gets lost in the mayhem. My sister Margot has also gotten her report card. Brilliant as usual. If we had such a thing as cum laude. She would have passed with honors. She's so smart. Father has been home a lot lately. There's nothing for him to do at the office. It must be awful to feel you're not needed. Mr. Kleiman has taken over Opekta, and Mr. Kugler, Gies and Company. The company dealing in spices and spice substitutes that was set up in 1941. A few days ago, as we were taking a stroll around our neighborhood square, Father began to talk about going into hiding. He said it would be very hard for us to live cut off from the rest of the world. I asked him why he was bringing this up now. Well, and he replied, you know that for more than a year we've been bringing clothes, food, and furniture to other people. We don't want our belongings to be seized by the Germans, nor do we want to fall into their clutches ourselves. So we'll leave of our own accord and not wait to be hauled away. But when, Father? He sounded so serious that I felt scared. Don't you worry. We'll take care of everything. Just enjoy your carefree life while you can. That was it. Oh, may these somber words not come true for as long as possible. The doorbell's ringing. Hello's here. Time to stop. Yours, Anne. Wednesday, July the 8th, 1942. Dearest Kitty, it seems like years since Sunday morning. So much has happened, it's as if the whole world had suddenly turned upside down. But as you can see, Kitty, I'm still alive, and that's the main thing, Father says. I'm alive, all right, but don't ask where or how. You probably don't understand a word I'm saying to you, so I'll begin by telling you what happened Sunday afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Hello had left, but was supposed to come back later. The doorbell rang. I didn't hear it, since it was out on the balcony lazily reading in the sun. A little while later, Margot appeared in the kitchen doorway looking very agitated. Father has received a call-up notice from the SS, she whispered. Mother has gone to see Mr. Van Daan. Mr. Van Daan is Father's business partner and a good friend. I was stunned. A call-up? Everyone knows what that means. Visions of concentration camps and lonely cells raced through my head. How could we let Father go to such a fate? Of course he's not going, declared Margot, and we waited for Mother in the living room. Mother's gone to Mr. Van Daan to ask whether we can move to our hiding place tomorrow. The Van Daans are going with us. There will be 7 of us altogether. Silence. We couldn't speak. The thought of Father off visiting someone in the Jewish hospital and completely unaware of what was happening. The long wait for Mother, the heat, the suspense, all this reduced us to silence. Suddenly the doorbell rang again. That's Hello, I said. Don't open the door, exclaimed Margot to stop me. But it wasn't necessary, since we heard Mother and Mr. Van Daan downstairs talking to Hello, and then the 2 of them came inside and shut the door behind them. Every time the bell rang, either Margot or I had to tiptoe downstairs to see if it was Father, and we didn't let anyone else in. Margot and I were sent from the room as Mr. Van Daan wanted to talk to Mother alone. When she and I were sitting in our bedroom, Margot told me that the call-up was not for father, but for her. At the second shock, I began to cry. Margot is 16. Apparently, they want to send girls her age away on their own, but thank goodness she won't be going. Mother had said so herself, which must be what father had meant when he talked to me about going into hiding. Hiding. Where would we hide? In the city? In the country? In a house? In a shack? When? Where? How? These were the questions I wasn't allowed to ask, but they still kept running through my mind. Margot and I started packing our most important belongings into a school bag. The first thing I stuck in was this diary, and then curlers, handkerchiefs, school books, a comb, and some old letters. Preoccupied by the thought of going into hiding, I stuck the craziest things in the bag. But I'm not sorry. Memories mean more to me than dresses. Father finally came home around 5 o'clock, and we called Mr. Kleiman to ask if he could come back, or if he could come by that evening. Mr. Van Daan left, and he went to get Mayep. Mayep arrived and promised to return later that night, taking with her a bag full of shoes, dresses, jackets, underwear, and stockings. After that, it was quiet in our apartment. None of us felt like eating. It was still hot, and everything was very strange. We had rented our big upstairs room to Mr. Goldschmidt, a divorced man in his 30s who apparently had nothing to do that evening, since despite all our polite hints, he hung around until 10 o'clock. Miep and Jean-Guy came home at 11. Miep, who worked for father's company since 1933, has become a close friend, and so has her husband Jan. Once again, shoes, stockings, books, and underwear disappeared into Miep's bag and Jan's deep pockets. At 11:30, they disappeared too. I was exhausted, and even though I knew it'd be my last night in my own bed, I fell asleep right away and didn't wake up until Mother called me at 5:30 the next morning. Fortunately, it wasn't as hot as Sunday. A warm rain fell throughout the day. The four of us were wrapped in so many layers of clothes it looked as if we were going to spend the night in a refrigerator, and all that just so we could take more clothes with us. No Jew in our situation would dare leave the house without a suitcase full of clothes. I was wearing 2 undershirts, 3 pairs of underpants, a dress, and over that a skirt, a jacket, a raincoat, 2 pairs of stockings, heavy shoes, a cap, a scarf, and lots more. I was suffocating even before we left the house, but no one bothered to ask how I felt. Margot stuffed her school bag with school books, went to get her bicycle, and with Miep leading the way, rode off into the great unknown. At any rate, that's how I thought of it, and still didn't know where our hiding place was. At 7:30, we too closed the door behind us. Mortya, my cat, was the only living creature I said goodbye to. According to a note we left for Miss Goldschmidt, She was to be taken to the neighbors, who we left for Mrs. Goldschmidt. She would be taken to the neighbors, who would give her a good home. The striped beds, the breakfast things on the table, the pound of meat for the cat in the kitchen, all of these created the impression that we left in a hurry. But we weren't interested in impressions. We just wanted to get out of there, to get away, to reach our destination in safety. Nothing else mattered. More tomorrow. Yours, Anne. We'll go ahead and end this episode here. Yeah, so we'd already had some of the horrible behaviors of the Nazis impacting Dutch people. And yeah, so they've been cut off from being allowed to use certain things, to go certain places, but they still had people they could trust, they could believe in. And so that's what's happening now. They've had so much of their stuff taken to the hiding place, and now they're beginning the journey. And yeah, it's gruesome what they had to go through in an attempt to keep from being part of the genocide committed by Nazis. But it's also just so wrong how it kind of, those who had been put through a genocide are now putting others through a genocide. It's, yeah, it's so wrong. It really is. It should not be happening. But anyway, yeah. So they've already, like I said, they've already went through a period of restrictions on Jewish peoples. And now they have to go into hiding because there's already been sent that, yeah, they want to take Margot. The older sister, so yeah. But we'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.